Hello and welcome to the April update from Dean Park Station. Quite a few bits and pieces been going on in the last month, so I'll not waste any more time. I'll get stuck in about it, and any comments and suggestions I look forward to hearing from you. Cheers! Okay, first off you'll see that I've got all the upper tracks weathered, and this goes from the level crossing right the way round to almost the start of the TMD. That process took me a good 2 or 3 days, probably about 10 hours in total actually, by the time I got all the track sides weathered, and then the sleeper tops weathered with the grime, and also then adding in some oil spills and whatnot in between the rails. You'll notice to the right hand side I've also done the incline as well. This was a task that needed to be done. I don't particularly enjoy it. It gives great results, but it's very tedious. But I'm now glad that it's done, and it certainly lifted the scene a wee bit around about the tracks. It looks more realistic. Another thing I've managed to achieve this month is the installation of the masts, the overhead masts, on the incline section. These are just the dapple masts as I've used previously, and they sit on my 4mm plastic card blocks. Now, installing these isn't just as simple as doing it on a level piece of track. Obviously I've got an incline going up with an angle, and I want the bases to be, sitting horizontally. So I had to work out the angle when I was putting them in and making sure they were glued in place correctly. When I drilled the hole also, I had to make sure the hole was vertical and not at the same angle as the slope, so the actual masts sit vertically even though the track is inclining beneath them. There's still plenty of clearance for the pantograph, etc., but that was just one thing I needed to work out, and I've done it all the way up round the corner past the caravan park, and it joins on to the upper main there. Okay. Now, I've spaced them out. Going around the curves, they're slightly closer together, and obviously on the straights they're further apart, just as would be the case in on the real railway, to allow for the wiring to fit around the curve. And you'll notice with overhead masts there is a long arm and then a short arm, so it goes short, long, short, long, short, long. It gives a kind of zigzag to the wiring. Now that's as per the real world as well, and that just stops the same part of the local pantograph being worn out, because the wiring's technically moving back and forward, back and forward. Okay, that's why they kind of have them staggered, so you've got short, long, short, so on and so forth. Now, I've been asked if I'm going to put the overhead wiring connecting the masts. They've been spaced out to allow that to happen, buying the dapple stuff. But to do the inclines, the upper mains on one of the lower mains in the DAPL wiring would cost me over £850. If I was using the Pico stuff, the wiring alone for the, to join to the mast would cost me around £1,200, and that's even before you put the Pico masts in. Now I'm sure the Pico wiring, would, I could find a way to attach it to the DAPL masts, but to be honest with you, I can spend that money on a lot of other things apart from tiny wee bits of thin wire that are only going to impede track cleaning. It's alright if you've got an end-to-end layout, maybe an exhibition layout that's only maybe 6, 8, 12 feet, you can fit the wiring. To have this size of layout, if I pan out to the full size of the loft, to wire all that, over £1,200, folk would say I was mad. Think we could do with £1,200. Think how many locals you could buy. Think of the holiday you could have. So the answer to the question that I'm asked often is, am I putting wires between the masts? At the moment it's a no, and it will remain a no for the foreseeable future. I think there's more important things to worry about, and I could make my own cheaper. Tunnel sides are now in place, and if I take off the tunnel front, what you'll see there is you see the walls, and they've been painted, weathered and glued in position, and they're cut at an angle to match the angle of the tunnel entrance. They don't go all the way to the top, and the reason for that is that the tunnel is not rectangular or square, it's got a curve to it. So I'm going to try and replicate that with plasticard. Now, in the process of finishing off the tunnel, and I've made this roof. As you can see, I've weathered it with all the soot stains in the middle with some streaks down the side, and it's been weathered and painted in the brickwork in the same kind of routine that I did with the rest of the walls. So if I take off this top piece here, which is not fixed down, you'll see it more clearly now if I get a bit closer. Get that out of the way. Okay. In here I have cut grooves. Okay. And the curve of the roof, I had to cut it at a curve, an angle, and the flowing curve, because when you bend it round it takes the shape of the entrance because it's at an angle. This has been an absolute minefield to try and work out a way of doing this, because the tunnel is not like a normal tunnel. It's got straight sides and then a curved top, so I had to have straight walls at the side then go into a curve, so I couldn't even have a tube shaped tunnel because it just wouldn't work with that wall. So I've made this, and I mocked it out of card first, several attempts to get it right, and this is just a bit of the brick embossed plastic card, and it slides in to the, and I might not get it in first time, but it slides in to the groove on one side. Okay, it's just been with a little bit of adjustment here. Like so, and then it goes into the slot there, and it's just held in place with its own, the reactive forces of the curve. And there we go. It's sturdy. It's all been primed to try and prevent it from any warping and stuff. It is only going as high as it is allowed to, which is fine because it's the correct height. And when I put in the tunnel entrance, like so, a wee bit of adjustment required, but so far it's looking okay. And I can lower the wall, or lower the camera, sorry, to see the wall. You can see the curved wall there, and it goes up and round. So I've got a little more weathering to do on it to blend it in with the straight wall, but in reality, you know, it's going to be dirty, and it doesn't have to be the same anyway. This corner area will be a caravan park, a static caravan park. I've managed to get my hands on 3 of those Bachmann 44-131 static caravans, and they will be placed almost in the position they are now. You can see some cars parked there. I'm obviously going to have gravelled areas for the cars, a kind of gravel track that disappears off scene, and the entrance to the park, if you like. I'm going to have the track here. I'll be shrouded by trees so you don't see where it disappears onto a leafy background or whatever, so it'll all be kind of hopefully hidden, and it gives the impression obviously that the park is bigger than just 3 caravans. There'll be fencing going up here, greenery, shrubs, trees, and then obviously a boundary fence at the other end there, okay, to stop the people getting too near the track. So corner of a caravan park. I've got the back scene to put up here as well, which will be the ID back scene, self-adhesive ones, which I've looked at what they are, and they're obviously trees and kind of foresty thing, so that will blend in with the kind of country feel of the out of town caravan park. The back scenes for this section and running right along have not been decided yet. Obviously I'll have to get one that blends in with the corner one, which I do have, but I'm going to look at what kind of scene I can have running straight from here right the way along behind the TMD, because obviously I've got another 25 feet to do. When it gets up to the corner there where it's painted white, if I zoom in, I've already got back scenes that continue from the station side. I've got the ID back scenes into the town set, which cover 3 sides of the layout basically. So it's just this side I need to get kind of decided upon and blended in, probably industrial units, and then coming into countryside to join on with the ones that are already at the caravan park. So hopefully that scene here will take shape over the next 3 or 4 months. Obviously with summer coming up, time up there, the loft will be winding down somewhat just because of the heat, so I've got projects that I can do downstairs, and I can pop up and do wee bits of scenes. This will not take long when it gets planned in my head to get put together, and I'll come up with a suitable name for it. You can see a wee scale model scenery LNER lineside hut there. Don't know if that's the final resting place for it. It's just put there just now. It's going to look like it's derelict, and I've already taken the windows out, or I've not put the windows in. I'll put some broken glass behind them and whatnot. I've decided that this area will be a substation, and this is a Bachmann substation product. It's a new release, or a re-release for a previous one. The previous one was a different colour, more of a stone colour, and it had a kind of substation attached with fencing and barbed wire and some, you know, relay box type scenarios for the substation. They've obviously thought that's costing too much to manufacture, or it was maybe not well received, so they've ditched that and they just provide it with the building now. Right, it's got the kind of lean-to on it there as well. That will go there, and I'll create a kind of substation area here. Now, I've got a couple of these Hornby substations with these substation electrical boxes in them. I'll just rip them out and place them in, and I'll fence round them. But I've also come across another couple of products from another firm that do these, you know, relay boxy type substation boxes better, and you don't have to buy the whole product from like Hornby and then rip it apart. I just think that'll just look out of place sitting next to it. So I'll show you that in the next video when I get it primed and painted. This will tie in with obviously some form of network rail, or prior to network rail, British rail, yard here or whatever I'm thinking about having, but that's just down the line. I've not really, you know, thought too much about that yet. So this will be, I say, a substation, plenty overgrown, weeds and whatnot encroaching into the building, maybe piles of ballast that have been left by the trackside during, you know, reballasting, sleepers and all the kind of line side junk that you know, makes a place look more realistic. So this can be a little mini scene in itself. I'm quite looking forward to that, actually, to getting stuck in about this. I couldn't do it before now until I'd got the curve for the tunnel. So once all that's been scenicked, you know, with muck and all that round and the walls have been put in place, this will be fixed down and I'll get stuck in about that around about the same time as I do the caravan park. Again, late summer, maybe you're looking for a completion on that, early autumn. For a few months now I've been thinking how I'm going to successfully fit overhead catenary to the upper section that I've just ballasted and weathered, and there was, because it's a 3-track span, and you know, the British market is pretty limited in what they provide, you know, ready to plant in the way of overhead masts. I mean, we've got the dapple stuff, and we've been waiting on twin arm dapple stuff, etc. from them for years now, so I'm fed up waiting for them. We've got Pico that have now come on the scene. As I said earlier, they're very expensive, they're very good, but they're very expensive, and they're bringing out a 4-track Gantry, but it doesn't really suit the East Coast theme that I'm modelling from the late 80s onwards, because on the East Coast they used the kind of head span design like is in front of you here, where you've got the 2 masts and then it's all kind of supporting cables and wires that support the registry arms and whatnot. So we've got a bit of a conundrum. I'm thinking, well, I want to do it right, and I'd rather, you know, if that means making my own, then so be it. And this is what I've got in front of me now, is a mock-up of what's going to be on the track. So we've got the 2 H-section brass masts. These are from Alien's Emporium. I'll cover all this in a video that I do on how to make these later, so don't worry too much about the sizes and that now. I'll put all that in a video. We've got the wires here. These are actually glued, or they're drilled in and glued to the masts. I thought, you know, trying to solder that best will in the world, you're going to make a bit of a blob, so I thought I'll just super glue them in, which seems to be working because I've pretty much thrown this around and it's not broken. Then you've got your 0.45 nickel, silver nickel wire there, and I've got these insulators that slide onto the wire, and they're from N Brass Locos, and they're like $4.50 for 8, and you know, I've got 4 on here, and I'll need 3 on each, or 1 on each of the register arms, so it's 7 per set, so you're looking at about £4 just on these wee plastic things, but they do look great. Then I've got 0.8mm wire there bent to shape for the register arms. It's all soldered together, and I've looked at prototypes of the headspan design, and obviously I've got the small bits of wire that have been soldered there. They've not got their insulators fitted, I was just mocking it up. This one has though, and on this one you can see there's a kind of small bit sticking out underneath the insulator. That's for the pulley wheels. And how I did that was this insulator's got 4.5mm wire soldered to this bit here, and then I slipped the insulator on, I bent it round, and then quickly soldered the 0.8 to the 0.45 without melting the plastic or acrylic insulator. So it worked actually pretty well. I'm quite chuffed, and that looks quite good in my opinion anyway. Some overhead aficionados will probably think it's not right, but I think it looks pretty good for my first attempt. And I followed pictures from the real thing and diagrams that I found online, and again I'll go over that in more detail when I do a video on it. The masts will be, these will not go in the later, this is a prototype. The masts will be longer, and they will go into the, you know, the scenic or the baseboards to stand up, and I'll just glue them in place. But I'm getting bases designed for me so I can slide a base on to fit the profile of this H-beam here. But again, I'll cover that later when it's come to fruition. So I'm quite chuffed actually. That took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours to kind of work out. It will fit across the rails. I'll try and get a shot of it in position in a second. And obviously each one with the registry arms will be positioned, depends on the track beneath it. Right, if I put a mast in position here, you'll see that it stands okay. And there's plenty of clearance for the pantograph of the trains going underneath, like the Class 85 and the forthcoming Class 90 from Bachmann, which will probably arrive in 2028 at this rate, and the Class 87 from Hornby, which will, I think, is due out very late this year, if not early next year. So I'm getting ready for them. These will all be painted up, primed, and weathered. And if in future plans they can actually take the wiring as well, and they will run from where the turnout is there, where it becomes too wide for just the dapple masts, all the way around, joining up to the incline section coming up, all the way around to where the apt-e is, and then it will continue with the dapple masts along the main line. I'll quickly go through some of the stuff that I've been using around about the Trackside. It's from Scale Model Scenery, and it's the Trackside drainage and manholes. And I've obviously got some that I've not used yet. You get the circular ones, the bigger ones, and then the rectangular ones that I've made use of. I just primed them up and painted them in a weathered concrete design, and the lids, if you like, the covers come in this very thin laser cut. It's very fine detail, it's actually excellent. They come like that. I've then painted them in rail match sleeper grime, and then I've got my weathering powders out, my rust weathering powders. Hope you can maybe pick that up on the camera. The last 4 there have been rusted, so I can put them on the layout, and they've looked like they've actually, you know, tarnished and they've been there a while. So there's really the 3 stages of me finishing them, from how they're supplied at the left, to they're painted, and to they're weathered at the end. And they'll go on after the static grass and all that's down. This is a kind of finishing touch. Don't want to get glue in that on them. Second product that I showed you in position is the railway sleepers, and they're 3-hole ones. They're wooden. They're the ones that they come in on a kind of sheet and you kind of unpick them, and you just kind of sand off the little burrs that when you take them off the sprue, and you know, they really are easy to paint up. I painted them in sleeper grime, a wee bit of oil spills and roof dirt on them, and you just fire them at the side of the line. So excellent product that. Around the relay box hard standing, I'm going to use the tube clamp style safety railings, also from Scale Model Scenery. They're an excellent little product. I mean, look, the detail is superb. Upside down. I'll just prime and paint them, you know, a silvery grey, weather them up, stick them around a couple of sides of the hard standing, and there we have it. And finally, which I've not used yet, a new product that's just come out from Scale Model Scenery is these catch pits. Now, I went down to York last week in the train down the East Coast Main Line, and I recall seeing, you know, these going for what seemed miles, you know, every 200 or 300 yards, and they're catch pits for drainage, and maybe more of a modern inclusion in the railway. I don't know if they had them in the 90s, probably just had the manholes and the drains, but I'll check up on that. But I'm going to be putting some of the catch pits in place along the section in front of the TMD, obviously to drain the ballast on the raised section. And again, very finely etched covers with the kind of card laser cut shapes. You just unpick them with a craft knife, give them a quick, you know, wipe and a quick sand down, prime them and paint them and glue them in position. Really are excellent little products, and you know, by comparison to, you know, the resin stuff and detail and stuff you get from other companies, they're really good value for money as well. So quite a few bits and pieces there from Justin at Scale Model Scenery. Also bought some workshop shelving for the TMD when that comes around to getting done. That's, you know, in 12 months time these will probably go on the layout, but probably not before that. And I also bought some pallets, which I've very cleverly put the block in front of the title there, which is really clever of me. Well done, Dave. So I take that out, that's them there, and they can be used. I'm going to put them at a depot that I'm planning on making, a Royal Mail depot in the future. But again, it's probably going to go where we're standing now. That's, you know, the Bachmann Class 90 will probably have been released by the time I get this, so maybe 2029. Okay, that's pretty much it for my bits and pieces. You know, go on, check the website out, good value, great service, can't fault it at all, and you know, if you want something, the chances are Justin's made it or is in the process of designing it. So if I just pan round from the start of the scenic area that I'm working on, if I pan round, you can see the progress that's been made with the tunnel mouth with its curved roof fitted in place, round to the relay box section there, round past all the kind of sleepers, the drainage, round with the walls. You can see the masts in place and the incline there, all the way round to the level crossing. And between the entrance there and the old stone wall, I've got the wee gap wall there, tiny wee gap wall between the left hand pillar of the entrance and the level crossing section. All I have to do with the walls is get capping stones put on. Now I'm working on that just now, trying to get an effective finish to them, stone kind of, you know, weathered stone kind of finish. So I'm working with a series of grey paints just now to try and just get it right before I start sticking them on. And the girder bridge area, again I'm working on the finish for that. I might go for a kind of rusty girder finish, but I'm practicing some weathering techniques just now, so again that'll not take long when it gets going. That's really it for this update. Hope you've enjoyed what's been going on. There's tons and tons and tons to do. I'll keep working away, but I'm not going to rush things and then I end up deciding I've made a mess or I'm not happy and then have to redo them. I'd rather get it right first time. If that means taking a bit more time to do it, then so be it. Cheers just now.